Welcome to the March meeting of the Cleveland Community Police Commission. I'm Dick Noth. I'm one of the co-chairs, and with that, let me introduce Dr. Connor, the other co-chair, to get this meeting started. We've got a full agenda tonight.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. And we have some new commissioners, so we will start out by not allowing, but at least asking them to introduce themselves. And Ms. Artis is not here yet, so Mr. Brown.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Brown. I'm the Safety and Community Outreach Coordinator for Cadell Improvement. I thank the board for giving me the privilege to sit as a commissioner and to help community and police interaction come together as one. Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Welcome. And we also have three new staff members with us tonight, and Edie Goodrick will give you a little bit more information about them, but I'll give you their names, and if they can sort of just kind of wave at you. Ms. Juneda Thomas is our administrative assistant. Welcome. Mr. Ryan Michael Walker, he's in the back. He's our senior policy analyst. And Ms. Shalala Williams is our community engagement coordinator. So thank you all for being here tonight. And as we look at our agenda, we also want to recognize community organizations. If you're part of an organization, if you would acknowledge yourselves now, what the organization that you are representing, and
Representing Collinwood Homeowners and Tenants Association.
okay. So we have someone from the DOJ. And we have someone from the monitor team. And we have, thank you, and we have someone from the city.
Captain Rob Simon from the Division of Police.
Okay. Are there any others that would like to be acknowledged? And I promise not to call anybody else out. But we do appreciate you being here. Moving on with our agenda, I'd like to introduce you to our special speaker tonight, Mr. Grady Stevenson. He's the Executive Director of the Community Relations Board for the City of Cleveland, where he works to promote relations among Cleveland's racial and cultural groups. He began his career with the City of Cleveland in 1989, serving as a meter reader and later a customer service representative with the Department of Public Works and Public Utilities. He returned to the City of Cleveland in 2006 to work for the Department of Community Relations as a supervisor in the area of community outreach and crisis intervention. Mr. Stevenson worked as a liaison between the city and local families victimized by violence. And he also planned several community events to increase positive relationships between the police force and the public. And when I came to Cleveland in 2005 and was an active pastor, we also did some work in the community as it relates to spiritual development. We are so happy to have you tonight, Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Dr. Connor, and good evening to everyone. My name is Grady Stevenson. As she mentioned, I am the Executive Director of the Department of Community Relations for the City of Cleveland. It's an honor to be here tonight. Just wanted to lay out a couple things for you. I see you had some things on the agenda that I'm to talk about, but I think first I need to tell you something about our department and where we come from. The Department of Community Relations was established back in 1945. It was the first of its kind in the country. It had never been done before, and it was established by municipal ordinance to promote amicable relationships within the city of Cleveland between racial and cultural groups in the community. We promote cooperation between police and residents through training and neighborhood meetings such as block clubs and street clubs, development and court watch. We do this through 4 key areas out of the Department of Community Relations, one being our youth diversion department. Youth diversion, we work with at-risk youth who are first-time misdemeanor offenders with low-level felonies. We provide programs such as life skills, fresh start, career readiness, male and female empowerment sessions through the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center and Girls Circle, and Men of Strength. Through the police community relations meetings, we link families and youth to the needs and resources, excuse me, an approach, and not only behavioral approaches, but we work with them in many different ways. Through our district reps. Our district reps are key in helping coordinate district community meetings, planning events. They work with commanders, such as on Mayor's Night Out Against Crime. They work to help coordinate those events, bike-a-thons, Easter egg hunts, safety fair, resource fairs, and many other events our reps help to coordinate. The reps respond to resident complaints and disputes and provide mediation as needed. Our liaisons, we have our Hispanic, our Asian, and our ministerial liaison that works in the Department of Community Relations. We currently provide Asian liaison and Hispanic liaison. They are committed to providing the city with resources, providing feedback to and from City Hall with residents. Cultural events, they celebrate Asian and Hispanic cultural and are spearheaded through the liaison. Our crisis intervention and clergy liaison supports the community during crisis via church and clergy. Clergy liaisons maintain an open line of communication with clergy and various religious backgrounds. Our outreach team. We now consist of 5 members in an outreach team. They are members that are trained to respond to most priority 1 calls in the city of Cleveland. And I'll touch on some of those in a moment. They also work with schools, rec centers, libraries, etc. in an effort to drive down and prevent behavior that will cause our community unrest. And so these are the 4 areas in which we work with in the Department of Community Relations. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Ms. Theacia Danley, who has been in the Department of Community Relations for some time and helps us direct our district reps and manage a great deal of what goes on throughout the city with our district reps, helping to make sure that we maintain harmony within the city of Cleveland is a big job. And so Theacia has a great task to help to manage that and also help to run our downtown community. As you know, our downtown community is getting larger by the day, and so she has the task of keeping that community abreast as to what's going on in the city of Cleveland, helping to promote safety within our downtown community, to make sure that they are abreast of all the safety efforts that are going on in the city of Cleveland. We have 5 district reps who host safety meetings throughout our community every month. Our 1st district has a monthly meeting that takes place every first Thursday of every month. Our 2nd district rep hosts a safety meeting the 2nd Tuesday of every month. And I can give you locations if you need. Our 3rd district rep hosts meetings the 4th Tuesday of every month. Our 4th district has meetings the 4th Wednesday of every month. And our 5th district meeting takes place every third Wednesday of every month. And so throughout the city of Cleveland, we host these safety meetings on a monthly basis to help inform the community, let them know what's going on, but also hearing from the community their concerns about safety that takes place in the city of Cleveland. And so through our commanders in each district, the council people of each district, the people that work in the CDCs in every district, through precinct leaders and others that come to our community meetings every month, we collect information, bring it back to City Hall, and make a determination as to what we feel that community is asking for, and hopefully connecting them with resources to take care of some of the safety concerns that they have. I'm glad to say that we have Commander Morris, who's very well connected with our department through Mr. Reynolds, who works here in the 5th District. For an example, they work very closely on every event that takes place in the 5th District, along with most of, if not all of, the council people in this ward. Excuse me, let me grab my water. Been talking a lot today, so throat's a little dry. So as I was saying, here in the 5th District, they meet at 5 Points Community Center. And I know from being, at those meetings with Councilman Polisic and some of the other council people who attend those meetings, that the residents know that that's a place where they can go and voice their concerns about what takes place in the community as far as safety is concerned. And so through those meetings, a lot is driven from City Hall and from the community as to what's needed as far as safety is concerned. I think that those safety meetings are very powerful because it does a couple of things. One, it helps us to understand the community better. If you know what the safety concerns are, then you know better how to deal with the ask from the community. Two, it allows us to push the agenda from City Hall to the community in a way in which they are free to ask questions in a forum, an open forum. They can ask questions about anything that's going on. And like I said, our commanders are there. They can ask the commander anything they need to ask them. He's there to answer those questions. And also, our district reps are always on hand at those meetings to answer any questions that might need to be answered from the community concerning safety or the lack thereof in our community. And so these safety meetings that we host every month in every district throughout the city as well as downtown are set up to make sure that the community has a voice, but also there's a voice from City Hall that says, we hear your concerns and this is how we're going to attempt to address some of those concerns. And so the men and women who work out of the Department of Community Relations, as far as our reps are concerned, I know do a great job of pushing information out to the community. Not only in those safety meetings, but other meetings that they put on throughout the month. They take that information out to the community and make sure that they get it in the hands of the people that are going to drive that message forward for them. Also through our other events that we have in the city, such as our Easter egg hunts and all. We bring the community together so that they're together with the police department. They get to interact with our police officers in the community, hand in hand, playing games with them. We have kickball with cops and baseball and all those activities that we have with police officers that we bring the community together for to help build a better relationship between the community and our police officers are driven through the Department of Community Relations and the partners that we have in the city of Cleveland. Also our outreach team. Like the mayor has afforded us through issue 32 to bring on more outreach workers. I know for years, we had James Botts and myself, we were the only two that had the entire city. Well, through issue 32, the mayor has allowed us to hire 5 such young people to work as community outreach people to go out and talk with some of the hard-to-reach populations, some of those young people who may not attend school on a regular basis, but have contact in the rec centers. And so we're affiliated with the rec centers to where we can go in and we can talk to these young people. We go into the communities where we are in the hard-to-serve areas or the areas that others don't want to go, or where the police know that activity is taking place, hot areas. Our young men can go into those areas and build relationships with those young people and get them involved in activity that's positive for them, so that they're not caught up in some of the dangerous activities that take place in some of our communities. But also have that connection with them, that they can tell them, you know, I know where you are, I've been there, and they can speak the language of those young people to help them to understand that they have a voice, and that there's somebody there who understands what they're going through and is able to help them through some of the obstacles and the hurdles that they're going through, such as employment. It might seem kind of obsolete, but our outreach team has built relationships with different employers throughout the city of Cleveland. They connect with them, and some of the young people who are struggling finding employment, we've got employment for them. We've reached out to some of the partners that we have in business, and they've told us that they will work with some of our young people to get them employment. We've been successful in employing a lot of the young people who come through our outreach team, connecting them with work in the city of Cleveland. Of course, our youth diversion department is also another strong department that works with, like I said, first-time offenders, low-level offenders, also low-level felony offenders, where they work with them in different programs that they have put together and know that has a good track record of helping young people to adjust to some of the obstacles that they've been going through. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not talk about, and I'm sure most of you read about it today in Cleveland.com, the mayor has spearheaded an effort in the city of Cleveland, this toxic stress and trauma that we've been working on for some time now, that takes place right here in our rec centers, in every rec center throughout the city of Cleveland. We have coaches now that are in our rec center that help to identify some of the young people who are experiencing toxic stress or trauma that visit our rec centers or just hang around our rec centers or in some of the neighborhoods. We have trained every rec center staff. Every member of community relations has been trained. The mayor wants anybody and everybody who comes in contact with our youth in the city of Cleveland to get this training, to help to understand what these young people are going through. For a long time throughout in our rec centers, young people, when they got in trouble in the rec centers, they kicked them out. Well, we don't kick out our young people anymore, but we take them, we find out what they need, and we connect them and their families to resources. So now these centers are no longer just known as rec centers where people go and exercise and play sports and things like that, but these are full-service rec centers now that we have in the city of Cleveland that will help to direct young people and their families to the resources that they need to be successful here in the city of Cleveland. So we'll have things such as adult literacy programs, job readiness programs, we'll have GED programs, we'll have arts and culture. We'll have all the things that you'll find in some of the suburban areas and some of their rec centers. All those things will be right here in our rec centers, ready for anybody and everybody that comes through the door that says, I need assistance in something. And so the Community Relations Board is instrumental in helping to identify, but not only identify, to refer young people to the rec centers, to the coaches in the rec centers, so that we can refer them out to other places that might assist in some of the needs that our community has. So that's, in a nutshell, some of the things that the Community Relations Board does. So my assistant just handed me a note here. So we have board members represented as citizens of the city of Cleveland, representation from unions, clergy, council, residents, I'm sorry, I can't read that, but faith-based community, LGBTQ communities, and others are represented on our board for the Community Relations Board in the city of Cleveland. And I know some said they would be here tonight. They may not be here. But if so, I wanted to thank him for coming. And also Mario, who attends a lot of, if not all of our board meetings, know a lot about what we do in the Community Relations Board and how we connect to the community. So if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody has for me at this time.
Bylaws for the police because there's so many, you had so many, like unnecessary deaths by the hands of the police, and we have to have federal people come in, how they're coming along and what bylaws, and are you going to submit those to the public to see how the police department is being reformed? Because the action they've taken in the past, you know, was not always correct. And I'm really concerned about the Tamar Rice case, about the police officer trying to get his job back. You know, now this police officer was not wanted by his own city, and we let him on our city. And I'm like this, if you can't be hired in your own city, why do you think Cleveland would want a jump police officer?
So I would be out of place if I answered that. I'll leave that for one of the committee.
When we get to public comments, we will double back to that question. But regarding district police committees, can you tell us a little bit more about how they are structured, and if you have any representatives here this evening, if we could meet them and know who they are and what districts they represent, as well as the community engagement officers, if any of those, as this, you know, being foundational for the work that we will be doing through CPOP with the district police committees.
Okay, I don't see any of our officers, but what I will do, our district reps, each district rep here, we will ask them to stand. Our first district rep, Tammy Hannon. Our second district rep, Michael McDonald. Our third district rep, Sonia Shakir. Our fourth district rep, Edwin Parrish. And our fifth district rep, Rick Reynolds. So these are the reps that work very closely with our police district committee members, and I don't see any of them in the house. If you're here, would you stand? Oh, I'm sorry. You stand. Are there any other from any other districts? Dr. Connor, there was another part to your question.
How can the community get involved with the district committee meetings? I know you gave us the dates that they meet. Is there a handout that you, from your office, was there?
So, we can get handouts. No, we don't. But let me say this. So, like I said, in every district, we host these meetings every month. And our reps are out in the community handing out information, sending out email blasts to different organizations. And we have over, we have over 3,000 people on our email chain that we blast out information to concerning our district community meetings every month, along with the information that we take, excuse me, to libraries and CDCs and all that about where our district meetings are hosted at. We have another question.
Have you read the CPOP plan?
Yep.
What it says about the district committee?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes,
Can you say a little bit more about how your work implements that plan?
So, through the Department of Community Relations, as I described the work that we do, all of that is hand in hand. It's hand in hand with the plan that's put out, the CPOC plan that's put out. And I wish Commander Johnny Johnson was here. No? Okay. So I try not to get too much into police work, but the Department of Community Relations work very closely with the police who are tied into the CPOC plan. And I see sitting back there. You want to elaborate on some of the things in the plan so that I don't overstep my bounds?
I'm not as well briefed on the CPOP plan and the DPCs as Commander Johnson is, but I do work closely with him. As far as how you can get involved with your district policing committees, the director mentioned those monthly meetings. Show up at those monthly meetings. They will give you information. They can get you on those email lists he was talking about. How this works with the CPOP plan is the committees will be asked, they're going to be the voice, bringing information into the district commanders, the district committees, and onto the Community Relations Board in what the problems are specifically in your districts, areas of concern. If you're having burglaries in one area, that committee is going to help develop plans with community relations and the police on how to address those problems within your districts. That's kind of the mile-high view, but really it's a community coming together, working with the police to help plan how we can address the problems you're having in each of your districts, because each district is different. They have different communities, they have different problems. So by bringing you all together, and then that information ultimately gets passed into the CPC as well, so that we can help all of the communities in their own individual capacities.
Yeah, so I read on here, so each, what district are you? You're in the 5th district? Your meetings take place every 3rd Wednesday of the month. Every 3rd Wednesday of the month. It's in there. It's in the packet. Okay?
I think E.D. Goodrick provided some schedules on the table. Is that correct? The office?
And-
Okay. Okay, so if you have a handout with the 5-district map, so if you look at the back of that, and maybe pass one to Director Stevenson so he can say whether those dates are correct on it, if you...
Yeah, the dates are correct on here. I have it on here. On the map. Is the date on there? Yeah, same. Yeah, I have it on here. The dates
Okay.
are correct on here.
Okay,
So, like he was saying, that's the way that you can coordinate, and that's the way the CPOC plan is set up to work. So that it's not just the commission or the community relations board that's coming together and trying to solve this problem, but it's also the community that helps to develop some of the answers to some of the problems that we have in our community. So it's us working together to devise a plan to take care of some of the things that take place or some of the safety concerns that take place in our community.
okay. Commissioners have questions? We'll start with, okay.
Thank you, Director. I have to say, first off, going to the Community Relations Board meetings and being able to see the expansiveness of the work of the board and its staff is notable, because this is an expansive city and has many different communities, and the work that happens in the day-to-day and the heartbeat that the Community Relations Board has on the workings of the city is to be recognized. My question is, the District Policing Committee plan, and along with the CPOP plan, details very specifically attendance goals, improving the processes within the DPCs and goals within that, asset mapping, basically the process of building consistent community committees in the DPCs in all 5 districts so that they service the people of Cleveland in a similar way, providing an opportunity for more people to be on those committees. Who in community relations is responsible for making sure that those changes are being followed?
So, my manager, who I told you oversees the reps, gets this information from Judge White. Sits down every month in those meetings to go over the information. We have instituted in the Department of Community Relations more expanded outreach through our networking to reach out to more community people through our efforts. That's why we devised a plan to get our I'm missing the word now. Our databases, build up so that, because we can hit more people through our databases. And Mario, you know, we worked on this for a long time in community relations to strengthen our databases so that we could send information out. Used to be back in the day, we delivered through the mail, and a lot of that stuff got returned because people moved. Well, now through our database, through emails, we can shoot that information out, and we make sure that we touch a lot more people. We knock on doors, like I said, we put the information in libraries and rec centers and all that. So we're touching a lot more people, and that helps us build up our numbers to make sure that those meetings are being bolstered every month. And so Aisha Danley is responsible for that activity with the district reps.
Other questions from commissioners? Okay, then I see that we have a commissioner.
Great, thank you, Director Stevenson. First off, I've been working closely with the First District, going to the First District community meetings on a regular basis for about 3 years, and have had the privilege to work with Tammy Hanna, the community outreach person for the city. And it's very important the community attends these meetings. It's a great way to meet your officers and get just build a relationship with your officers in your community, and it's very beneficial. That's all I had to add. Thank you.
Thank you, and that's excellent, because you get a lot of one-on-one FaceTime with officers when you attend those meetings. They begin to know you and can help you a lot more once they know who you are. So thank you.
What's the average demographic or an attendance of folks who typically, what is the average demographics and the attendance and the amount of attendance that's attended at these DPC meetings?
Well, it's different for each meeting. So if I had to pull a number, the average, you would say what, Aisha? What would be the average for the meetings? So some areas are stronger than others, and we are working with the areas that don't get as many people out to begin to do some things to get their attention, to get them out to the meetings. So we're one day hoping to have 100%, but right now, yeah, some areas are just stronger than others.
Cool. We have a few young folks in the audience, and one of the things that we struggle with on the commission is having that younger population participating and hearing their voices in the room. Mm-hmm. So what initiatives can we work together on to possibly implement or piggyback on with you guys to help bolster that population?
That's great. That's great. That's a great question. So through our outreach team, we initiate a lot of efforts, and one will be to make sure that we get a team of young people to attend these meetings in every district. So if you wanted to piggyback on that, you could, Damien, would you stand up? Damien Calvert is the manager of our outreach team. He can give you his information. You can contact him or he contact you and find out how we can get a lot more young people involved, because that is one of the things that we look to do, to get more young people involved in our district committee meetings.
Okay, we have a community, I'm sorry, any other commissioners? We have a community member that has a question.
Yes. Is it on?
It's on, we hear you.
Okay. I am a homeless advocate and a veterans advocate, and I serve on the Mental Health Response Advisory Committee, which was created as part of the consent decree. And so my question for you, sir, is it says here that the Community Relations Board concentrates their efforts on the following areas. And it says youth engagement / crisis intervention. It also says that they do intentional outreach to the homeless. So my question to you is, what do you actually do involving the homeless in crisis intervention? Because I was homeless 10 years ago, and, you know, there wasn't outreach from the Community Relations Board. My other question is, Captain Purcell is the crisis intervention coordinator for the city of Cleveland, I'm sorry, for the police department. So I want to know, is he coming, has he come to these meetings and introduced himself and given out his contact information? Because we're supposed to be doing problem solving and meeting with stakeholders, and I cannot for the life of me understand why we're not partnering with your board. It just seems like a no-brainer to me. I mean, you're doing a lot of great things, but it just seems like crisis intervention, unless it involves youth, like nobody cares about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So for years, I worked in crisis intervention before I became the director of community relations. I worked with 2,100 and other homeless shelters for years, working hand in hand with them to help the homeless population. Since we have had the expansion of our outreach team, we are going to reach out more to the older population, so that we're not missing that homeless population that you talk about. I can't tell you why Patel hasn't been here. I can't answer that for him. But what I can tell you is I'll make sure that the Community Relations Board has a representative at these meetings to make sure that we have the information that we need and we're getting the information out.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you doing outreach to the Northeast Ohio Coalition for Homeless? As far as partnering with them, because they coordinate outreach from other organizations like Frontline Service, Carolina. So I don't know if you have a partnership with NEOP, but that would be a good thing.
Right. So through some of our partners, such as Frontline, we do connect with. When Rosemary Creedon will connect us with people that we need to work with all the time. We have a very good relationship with Frontline.
So we have one more question from a representative from Surge, and then we will conclude this part of the meeting.
Hi there, Malcolm Himshoot, Cleveland resident and parent, and tracking these conversations with Surge. So thank you for your comments tonight. Thank you for the presence of those in the room who are Community Relations Board members. As you were talking, I had two things that really follow up on what's been asked here by the community. I'll phrase one as a request, and then I'll come back to my question for tonight. The request would be, given the CPOP plan is now in effect and going forward, might you all consider renaming those safety meetings, the monthly safety meetings, to some other concept, like in the CPOP plan is presented as problem solving instead of safety, or the word wellness instead of safety. And I say that because it is in the plan, it's visionary, but also because I'm speaking as a white person, member of the white community, we have issues with racism and the word safety, and the way that safety comes so often to the white imagination really is already racialized, and we have all the research that shows the way that some of our neighborhoods are going to use that and do in these monthly meetings to just over patrol people of color. A person walking while black, I don't feel safe. a person mowing their lawn, who's a person, I don't feel safe. So that word safety is actually something to interrogate. So my request would be considering some of the other language going forward for a paradigm shift that works into the new CPOP plan, that could those monthly meetings be wellness meetings? Could those monthly meetings be problem-solving meetings? That's the request. A question for you actually tonight is in follow-up to what the first person said. I think you might want to speak to it more on the commission, of course, but you kind of didn't say anything to it, and yet it's the reason we're all here. If the work of the Community Relations Board is to really hold up the standard of professional, ethical professionalism in the police force, it must make your job really difficult when you have something like the CPPA Police Union trying to advocate for Timothy Lohman to get his job back. That's really egregious and in violation of the human rights and constitutionality that we want to experience in our city. I'm wondering, so I'll put this as a question. And I would say Tamir Rice was my neighbor on my block, so it's not something ever, any day that I'm able to let go of. Could there be changes to that municipal code that organized the Community Relations Board that would perhaps give you more power in terms of the city negotiating something with CPPA, which does not allow for these travesties of justice to go forward under the arbitration clause of the CPPA agreement? Could there be changes to the municipal code that help you all represent the community more forcefully? Thank you.
So, it's difficult. I want to thank you, first of all, for putting me right smack dead in the middle, right? So I'll say this. Everyone has a right to appeal. I wouldn't want to take anybody's right away from them to ask for anything that they feel like was unjust to them, right? So if we started enacting laws or ordinances that the Community Relations Board could step in and say, no, a person couldn't have their job back because, I think that would be opening a box that you may not want to open. I understand the feelings of some of the residents as far as that's concerned, but everybody has a right to due process. And if that's part of his due process, then I think it's only fair for us as a community and as a Community Relations Board to let that process work itself out. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, and thank you, Director. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and for taking an opportunity to fill questions. And I want the audience to know that as part of our stakeholder meeting, the DPCs, or the district police committees, are in the process of reshaping, reestablishing themselves. So it's really a lot of pull and tug to get someone here tonight to talk about DPCs and the Community Relations Board when it is actually reestablishing itself. So there's some things that are not nailed down yet. So thank you for being here, and I hope maybe in another couple of quarters we'll come back and we'll see what kind of progress we've made.
Thank you. Can I do one thing, Dr. Connor, if you don't mind? I'd like my outreach staff to stand up. I just want everybody to get a chance to see who they are. Outreach staff, stand up. So these are the 5 gentlemen who work in outreach. Can my district reps please stand up? These are all my district reps. And my liaisons, please stand up. Theasia, they already know you, but would you stand? We have Theophilus Cadmus, who's the liaison for clergy and crisis intervention. We have Tammy Hanna, as I said, my first district rep. We have Chai Chin, who's the Asian liaison. We have Damian Calvin, who's the manager of our outreach. We have Sonia Shakir, who's our 3rd district rep. Daisha Danley, who's the manager of our district reps. Michael McDonald, who's our 2nd district rep. Rick Reynolds, who's our 5th district rep. Edwin Pierce, who's our 4th district rep. Jacquees Simmons, Jacqueline Nichols, Jonathan Collins, and Chris Baldwin, who's our outreach team. So I thank them all for coming, and thank you for having us tonight.
Yeah, thank you all for being here again. Just give them a hand.
I forgot somebody. Now, I don't want to get to.
Yeah,
but
that's
I have
bad
my
in
diversion.
church. Bad
My
in church to
diversion
get
team.
anybody.
Yes, my diversion team. Please stand up. So we have 3 individuals who work in our diversion team. We have Candace Caldwell, our manager, Sharice Dawson, and Deidre Gill. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you all for being here. And if you have contact information, please leave it with Edie Goodrick and the staff so that we, as we continue to grow in terms of our work with CPOP, then we have people that we can contact. And I will hang on to Mr. Paris because he serves the district that I live in. And then I tapped Tammy as well because of District 1. But thank you all.
Sure. One thing to add. If I'm not mistaken, I believe our CLECPC.org website has the dates and times of the district policing committee meetings. So if that handout seems to lose its way, just go to our website, and it's been there for some time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
The second district has changed its meeting time to 6:30.
Okay, we'll make that adjustment.
The second district has changed its meeting time to 6:30 p.m. the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay, so we'll back up and let Ms. Artis introduce herself, and then we'll move forward with public comment.
Good. Thank you. And thanks, Grady. That was a nice presentation that, as all of you know that have followed the progression of the consent decree, the DPCs ultimately play a critical role in the carry forward of the obligations of the CPOP plan. And as you all know, we made comments to better the DPC process. Some of those have been implemented, but we think additional changes need to be made in terms of approaches because it does vary by district. But the community should know that moving forward, that will be the DPCs will be a very important component to your voices being heard in terms of raising wellness issues and community issues so that we can hopefully successfully implement the CPOP plan with the department. On that note, we're going to move to public comment. Oh, I will. I'm going to ask Ms. Artis to introduce herself. She will carry our microphone this evening. And, or who? Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Artis. I forgot you didn't.
He's in
you stuck up on me there. We have our other new member this evening. Why don't you introduce yourself to the public?
Hi, I'm Commissioner Tiffany Artis, and hoping to kind of bring some of that youth input. Right now with me, I have my SGA team. I currently am employed at Job Corps, and that's my president. Come on. So I have my president, vice president, secretary, sergeant at arms, and treasurer currently with me. So they will probably be present with me at most meetings. So hoping to get some input from them.
Good. You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Okay, so SGA is a Student Government Association. So basically, they are the student leaders, the elite student leaders on our campus. Again, I work at Job Corps in Cleveland, so we service young people from 16 to 24 to assist them with high school diplomas, a career certification, and independent learning skills, also soft skills, professional skills. So these are the students that basically bring back to the campus what changes they need to make. So.
Well, welcome to the commission and welcome to your leadership group. We look forward to seeing you at future meetings. I'd also like to thank the community at large that's present here today. This is a great group, a lot of interaction, and it's good to see. I think maybe a sunny evening helped bring out some of our folks here. But we're going to move now to the public comment period. And given the number of folks we have, oftentimes we don't have to stick to a real strict 2-minute rule, but I'm going to ask you to get right to your points so that we can move the microphone forward. And we will start with Ms. Bickerstaff first. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Brenda Bickerstaff. My brother Craig Bickerstaff was killed by police on January 26, 2002. I come to a lot of meetings and I do participate in a lot of side meetings for accountability, the CPOP that's being held at 3631 Perkins Avenue, which is the Cleveland Police Commission office. However, I went to a meeting for the Cleveland Police Review Board where they do the complaints. You know, at one point there was like 383 complaints behind. So now they're down to 140. But what I found out, and I think I shared this with Mr. C, and I got other information I need to share with him because he is one of the monitors for the government. What I found out is that they're dismissing complaints, even though they are telling the monitors that they're letting people know. So what I did, I went to a meeting and saw them dismiss 25 complaints. So what I did, I seen the names of the people, but they had their last names. So with my good private investigation work, I went out and found 4 or 5 of those people, and they didn't know that their complaints were being dismissed that day. So the issue that what I did, I went a little bit further. I contacted Hillard Hines in Chicago. And I want to let everybody know, Hillard Hines is a private investigation firm, but they're former police officers. Now, in the consent decree, it says the Cleveland police officers cannot investigate their cases. I understand that, but it's still a conflict if you got the police investigating the police. You're still not getting your justice. So I'm digging more deeper in this and going real deep in this to find more answers. So this is not something that I'm making up. This is not something that I say. And a lot of you know, doing the type of work I do, I can record on a 2933.52 Ohio Revised Code. So I got it on tape. So the issue is, I'm bringing this to your attention. This is not something what I heard. This is what I'm experiencing, and this is what I saw. So now they're down to 140 complaints, I guess so, because you're just dismissing them. You're dismissing them. You're not telling people why you're dismissing these complaints. Not at all. And that's not fair. So I did write a letter to Judge Oliver as well and took it over there to the court.
Okay. Thank you. And I note that both the representatives of the monitor's office and the Justice Department are taking notes, so I'm sure they will follow up on that directly. Next question. I think there's one in the second row here.
Well, they never answered my question when I first came in about the police officer who shot Tamir Rice. How is it possible for him to get his job back? Because we know that in the real world, when people don't do their job or they do something horrendous, they're fired on the spot. And I know for myself, when I'm going to apply for a job or to get a job, I have a background check. I have to be damn near perfect to get that job. And we know no one is perfect. But I want to know, what is the procedure behind them doing? You need to do background checks. If a person didn't get hired in their own city, how can they get hired here in Cleveland? We want the best too. You know, we're not a piece of junk where we got to take your junk. If he wasn't able to pass in his own city, how did he end up on our city? And to get his job back is ridiculous, because it's certain things that you do. If you look at that tape, that police officer did not even get out the car. It was like a drive-by shooting. He just shot. And that is unacceptable.
Thank you. We're going to address that issue following the public comment period through resolution by the CPC. I will. No, we will. Thank you.
I have 2 quick questions. I was looking at the monitoring plan that the city just posted. The first draft of their district awareness training was due March 1st. Have any members of the commission seen the curriculum for those district awareness trainings? Do you know if any community members provided input? If the community didn't participate in developing the plans, that indicates a real lack of commitment to transparency and community participation.
We received that same document that you referenced, and we have not received the document you referenced from the city. In the back, yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Marianne Pry, and I just have 3 comments. You said that you're going to come back and have these meetings quarterly. They need to have the meetings monthly at one of the centers instead of quarterly, so we can get the same information that we're getting this evening. I have a problem with the grand jury system on when a person has to go, they kill somebody or something happens, they have to go through a grand jury, if a policeman. And usually the grand jury does not say anything. They just let them go in a sense. That was my comment. I just have a lot of concerns that it's not happening. But you need to come out in every month, not quarterly. That's all.
Sure. Let me address that, and we will specifically address that in our annual report that we are in the process of drafting right now. The decision was made in the last 3.5 years. We've met monthly, and in all candor, the number of attendees dropped significantly, even though we moved it out. And what we found was we were having more community engagement in the subcommittee meetings and the work group meetings. So what we've done is kind of transition, as a test, is to hold larger public meetings in various rec centers throughout the city, changing the locations, so that we're reporting that information on. But continuing on with work groups and other meetings, sometimes as many as 3 times a month, and monthly at the least. There are several committees, accountability and CPOP that continues. And they meet very regularly, and we post our schedule on the website. So we're gonna work more through the work groups and see how that goes. If we find there's pushback from the community, then we'll revisit that issue. Other comments? Yes, ma'am. Let her grab the mic so then everybody can hear you, please.
Okay, I would like to know, when are you guys going to fix these streets as far as these potholes? They are terrible everywhere.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Everywhere, not, it's Collinwood area is terrible. Everywhere else is horrible, but this is a bad spot I live in with these potholes.
There's a lot of things we are responsible for. One thing I will not take any responsibility for is the condition of the potholes. But I'm sure someone from the city will note that, and thank you for the comment. Oh, sure.
I would advise you to reach out to your local CDC. I get calls on a regular basis regarding potholes and street infrastructure. Contact your local CDC. They'll reach out to the appropriate city department.
And you can actually go on the city's website, and I think the neighborhood CDCs are all identified on that website, or Google your neighborhood and CDC, and it'll pop right up.
Or your city council person. There you go. City, yeah.
Next one. Any other comments here? Oh, we've got several here. There we go.
Hello, my name's Johnny Ham. I do work for the City of Cleveland Division of Police, but I'm not here representing them. When this whole process started, I had a lot of officers approach me and ask if they really should open up to the Community Police Commission and the monitors when asked questions about what they really feel and what they're really going through. And I advocated extremely for them to just open up and let everybody know, everyone that they talk to. And the ones that I know of that came to me talked to members of the Community Police Commission, they talked to monitors, and they've received no follow-up. And then they come back to me and say, well, what's happening? And then they point out things that are happening right now in the Division of Police or the city and say, how can this happen right underneath the monitors and the Community Police Commission and the DOJ? And one example of that is a recent court case in which the judge wrote, defendants, who's the city of Cleveland, do not have the right to rely on strict adherence to their own rules when they have historically failed to do so. What this is saying is that because the city has failed to follow its own rules, that the courts will not enforce those rules. And this is in relation to police promotions. So now you have a bunch of officers who studied hard and took these tests and put themselves out there that now don't know if the city is actually going to follow its own rules because a judge can't enforce it. So I would like you folks, the monitors and the CPC, to follow up with those officers that actually reached out to you and gave you information because they were looking for some salvation and some help. And all it seems to me like many of these community members see is that you just check off the boxes as associated with the settlement agreement. When one is done, check it off and move it forward. But there's a lot of people involved behind those boxes that need to be addressed.
Thank you. Next comments.
Thank you. I introduced myself formally as a member of the monitoring team. I've met several times with police officers, and each time they've gotten follow-up from me. We conducted a listening group with officers from across the department. We probably had some 70 to 100 officers that we met with. We detailed the information we got back from that meeting with those officers. That information got back to the department. I'm meeting again this month with another group of officers. Every meeting as a monitor that I have been involved in, those officers have gotten follow-up and gotten feedback on. And they will continue to do so as long as I am a monitor involved in any police meetings.
The same work plan that I referred to earlier says that the department, this is a particularly appropriate time, the department was going to start doing things about officer wellness March 1st. I've mentioned before that their departmental notices listing by name all of the people who've been disciplined in the past 2 or 3 weeks is beating up on them. That is not officer wellness. That is not treating the officers the way we want them to treat the community. And I feel strongly, if they're still happening, those departmental notices need to stop.
We will, we meet monthly with both the monitor's office and then it's usually the following day. We meet with all the stakeholders, which includes the city, the Department of Justice, and the monitor. And we will bring up the status of that issue.
As a follow-up to what I said earlier about the officers not receiving follow-up, it's officers that were encountered at the district level by the people that came out to them. Because most officers don't want to come into this forum or to other meetings to publicly express themselves because they're afraid of blowback. We're part of an administration that has a very long memory and will remember you if you come out and say things. So those are the officers that I'm referring to, not the ones that were at the meetings, but the ones that were met at districts in private. And I myself have made comment at least 3 times on the community police page that, or not the, your website, and I've received no follow-up from those either.
Okay, we now have obviously new staff in place that are involved in community engagement, and we will follow up with that issue. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, earlier I didn't say my name. It's Rosie Palfy. I haven't been to a meeting since September, and I wanted to ask, did the union representatives get the video that I provided to people? It's called Code 9 Officer Needs Assistance. It's about police suicide. I'm sorry? Okay, there was a bald white police officer here, and I gave him a copy, and then, okay. But Detective Fulmer, did you get it? I did not. Okay, I guess I can buy you another one. But basically, the Mental Health Response Advisory Committee, Pat, just so you know, they did 4 hours of officer wellness training this year for crisis intervention training. I got to tell you, I wasn't happy about that because I thought that employee assistants should have been doing that, and we should have been spending that time on youth or homeless or developmental disabilities because the officers haven't gotten all that training. I would like to see the union reps be involved in crisis intervention. Excuse me. I do not understand for the life of me how the city does not see how crisis intervention is connected to CPOP or bias-free policing. And when you do a word search on all of these documents, it's like they throw in the word homeless, they throw in crisis intervention, but they're not connecting it. And I gotta tell you, they're getting ready to do the 40-hour crisis intervention training. And I'm really disappointed with it. They're basically, for the most part, recycling the old 40-hour training with a few exceptions. I had a lot of issues with the homeless and the veterans portion. I will say the person from the LGBTQ Center had a very impressive course. But Dr. Clegg, I have so much respect for you, and I was so disappointed that you approved that training because they didn't even copy edit it, okay? So there's a veteran who put in his, he's a peer, he has Vietnam vet with PTSD. He put in his lesson plan and he didn't copy edit it. He spelled the word brain, Brian. He misspelled the word psychology twice, and neither you nor Dr. DuPont from the monitoring team caught it. And so I was disappointed that you didn't, offer any feedback. And the problem is that they gave us 3.5 days to review 500 pages of coursework. So
Thank you. Okay, we have two people, one person in the back that has not spoken at all. If you have shared already, please do what we call step back and let someone else that has not had an opportunity share.
Good evening. So I wanted to sort of reiterate something that, or piggyback off of something that Lieutenant Ham just said, and it's in regards to making suggestions, reaching out to the police commission, and not necessarily getting feedback, but in my case and in the case of other people, the feedback that we're looking for is perhaps acknowledgement or actually considering some of the things that we suggest. So I've been reading, I've been keeping up. It's been quite some time. I know everybody, or most of you here remember me or know me. And we've suggested things like having an independent body that would be the holders of the dash cam or body cam footage. That way, that independent body is not going to feel a bias towards the city or that officer and worry about who, how it's going to affect them and their job and so forth. They're not going to say, oh, that's old Mickey Callahan's son. I don't think we should release this footage. And so I think that it's important that you have an independent body that holds that footage. Now, no one, I talked to Mr. Knopf about it, and he said nothing to me that shot it down, but I've seen nothing of it that raises it up. So we have, concerns like that. So when you talk about community involvement, seeing someone actually attempt to implement some of these ideas, because if it's a bad idea, I'd love to have the discussion for folks to show me how that's a bad idea, and I can show you as many ways, if not more, how it's a good idea. But I think about those things, and it's not very, it doesn't get my juices flowing to want to come to these meetings when I feel like I'm just being talked down to, like, we know what you need better than you do. If you really want community involvement, you kind of got to acknowledge us, and when we've got some good suggestions, we hope that you would actually give them a shot.
I appreciate that, and candidly, I remember our very engaged conversation. I'm trying to remember the rec center, but I do recall that conversation specifically because we were having a presentation on body cameras, I think, that evening. And first off, let me say, I appreciate the time you spend coming to these meetings and being so involved in the process. That said, not everything that we propose on this end from the CPC is adopted. In fact, as Monitor representative and the Justice Department representative will acknowledge, in many of the meetings where we have negotiation sessions, there's give and take, and some issues they accept, and some issues they don't. And in one of the sessions, we talked about equipment and the city's budget proposal on equipment, and the notion of turning materials over to a third party. There was pushback.
Because that contributes to accountability. You're going to get pushback on anything regarding accountability.
Exactly. And as we all know in negotiations, there's a time and place for raising that issue and raising that issue again and raising that issue again. And that's not an issue that we have given up on. It's not an issue I've given up on.
But if you're really trying to do something for the community, we need accountability, and until we get that, you're not operating in our best interest. You're being disingenuous when you say you're representing us.
I appreciate your comment.
Kareem,
Next.
if I hear you correctly, now I want to be clear because I want to make sure that I'm responding correctly. What you're asking for is if you make a suggestion, you want to see it in our recommendations that we put forth to the monitoring team, the city, and the CDP, correct? Absolutely. Exactly. So regardless of if it's accepted, if we have to fight and they don't take it, you want to see that we at least included it and then responded to you as to why it didn't go forward. Is that correct? Okay. So I think we can do that.
One comment, one question. Hi, my name is Shanoa Miller. But the question was, obviously we see that the community is saying, these people that you are taking to OPATA and going through the police academy and doing this non-biased training, non-prejudice, things like that, obviously the community has a problem with it. Do you feel that there should be a higher certification or qualification for these police officers? Because obviously going through OPATA and going through the police academy and doing these non-biased trainings obviously are still, like, it's not solving anything. That was my question. Do you feel like the bar should be raised? My statement was, we have constantly had these meetings. I've seen you here before, I've seen you here before, and every single person in this room has talked about the monitors, have talked about police brutality, you talked about your brother, which I'm so sorry for. We have all, like, every person in this room has said some type of statement or their question. All I've heard since I walked in here was, we'll report back to you on that, we'll see about that, we'll take that to, you know, Judge Oliver, we'll take this to who, we'll get back to you. I'm gonna keep that in mind, we'll get back to you. But I'm pretty sure if you're saying, hey, we'll get back to you, we'll speak about it, how many meetings has it been? Like, honestly, I have yet to hear an actual answer of, we'll report back to you, this is the following meeting. I have yet to hear answer to most of these questions that we've heard from previous meetings already.
Okay, let me respond to that question in particular because on August 12th, this group, after voting and discussing the recruitment and training module as part of the CPOP program, actually made very, very specific and detailed recommendations and reported on the details in writing of what we thought should be included in the background of an individual applying for a job, including asking that the city consider utilizing trained social workers as part of the core of the patrol officer gathering. And there were at least 5 meetings with the city, negotiation sessions and the like. That was rejected. And that was reported in our October meeting, the status of that. And when the city submitted the CPOP plan to the judge, with the acceptance of the monitor and the Justice Department, we raised our objections. And so we did respond on that very front. And that was as a result of 6 months of work.
So if this is a part of the problem, even though you put in a motion and it was rejected, was the next step? Because that is a part of the problem. That qualification, that certification, basically, if I go through a training of OPATA, because I'm a teenager, I went to OPATA training before, I've seen what OPATA is like. If we're still having racial and prejudicial problems, obviously having this criteria of go through OPATA, go through the police academy, take this test here, and it was rejected. I completely get that because you did put in a motion for it. What is the next step because of it, even though it was reported to the community?
The next step is we continue on to attempt to refine and improve the process. We've only been at this for a handful of years. This is going to go on for a long time. In the city of New York, the first time they did this in the 70s, it went on for over 20 years. In LA, it went on for 14 years. So we can't have expectation that we're going to turn this paradigm shift in policing around like you do a car. It's unfortunately, and I'm not being apologetic here, it takes a lot of time. It took the city vote to raise the taxes just to get the economics together so we could afford to hire a better task force to do policing and to improve the training and to improve the equipment and everything the police officers need on a day-to-day basis. So I don't want to sit and suggest that nothing's happened, but I also don't want to suggest that everything has been accepted. It hasn't. I'll be very candid with you. But that just means we have to take the pieces that have not been accepted yet and keep moving those forward. I guarantee at some point in time, the city of Cleveland is going to accept social workers as part of the patrol officer legion. And it may take 5 more years, it may take 10 more years, but eventually we will catch up with the rest of America.
I don't think
where that's moving forward.
I don't think the issue is social workers. Like, so
I'm just raising that as a single issue.
I understand. Like, just to be frank, like a lot of these residents have been complaining. Like, a lot of you guys have attended a lot of these meetings and asked the same similar questions. And we as the commission are supposed to be your voice, your conduits. We're supposed to take your gripes, your pains, your suffering, and things of that nature, and raise them up. So a lot of times, none of these questions have been answered. Like, one of the things I whispered up here to one of my fellow commissioners, like, we've been playing politics. So, and politics has been being played. So, we're not going to change the police force overnight. We're not going to make the racial issues change overnight. But it's all about these small victories. And the small victories is lifting up your voice. Small victories is seeing the recommendations, getting that feedback that you want. Or the small victories is having, you were here today. You gave your speech, Mr. Stevenson, but it's like a little more detailed approach to how can you guys be more effective to us and assisting us with moving things forward. Because yes, we all pretty much are, like most of the folks here are civically engaged, I'm pretty sure, so they're pretty familiar with CRB. So, but how can CRB help move the tide or shift the tide with police and our issues that we have going on? Like, one of the things I want to ask you guys, because we have been going at this going on our 4th year, we have 6 months left in this particular cohort of commissioners. Like, in these 6 months, how can we help assist y'all to get y'all more engaged, to get them more involved, and educated on the process? So we have, I see you, Ms. Bickerstaff, give me a second. Like, we have had SII, a local contractor, or I didn't say a local contractor, but a contractor who assisted us with coming up with community engagement plans. But a lot of times we get people in these rooms, or we have a lack of people in these rooms, and they're not fully informed or well aware of the consent decree, the power and things that we have to change, or how can we directly impact you. So how can we help you? Like, how can we make better use of this meeting right now, and y'all telling us how we can help y'all in the next meeting? We come back with those answers, or come back with some of that assistance that you guys need so you can be well informed, so the officers can get some of the input or the feedback they deserve. So how can we help you? And like, can y'all help us with that? Like, it's cool to hear, like, I want to hear everyone's voices, we want to hear everyone's voices, but along with those voices, complaints, and things of that nature, let's hear solutions that we can bring back to you. It is wrong of us to sit up here and just say, hey, and like, I felt that kind of awkward that we'll get back to you, or we'll get back to you. We treat this as a business when it's not a business, this is people's lives we're dealing with here, and we want to really create some true impact and change. So how can we help you? I want y'all to tell us that. Like, how about everyone, raise their hand and individually just tell us how can we help you and bring things forth and help lift up your voice.
Ms. Bickerstaff.
Number one, I want to tell all of you, start coming to these sub-meetings with the accountability meetings. We need you in the room. I'm just being honest. I'm not just protesting for my brother Craig Bickerstaff. It's work behind the scenes. Protesting is bringing awareness, but you actually got to start doing work. We need you in those rooms, coming to those meetings. 3631. You want my number? 355-6232. 216-355-6232. You got to start coming to the accountability meeting. You got to come start to the CPC meeting. Okay, let me say this. I'm going to go to you. You said the police don't want to come, but this is a situation we're supposed to make each other feel uncomfortable. Mr. Farmer came to a meeting. I beat him up a little bit, but he still stayed there. You understand what I'm saying? We're gonna go through things like this. My brother was killed by the police. My dad was a police. How do you think I'm going to feel about the police? Police wrongfully had me indicted when I was working on the case. How do you think I'm going to feel? I'm going to feel a certain type of way because he got his job back. He shouldn't be a cop. So we're going to feel a certain type of way, Mr. Ham. We're going to feel like that. Give us a break. You want us to give you a break? Give us a break. Tell those officers to come. Tell them to come. They're going to feel uncomfortable.
You didn't listen to my statement.
No, but I'm just saying, tell them to
The
come.
longevity, the memory of the administration.
Okay, but guess what? Can I say this?
They will engage in one-on-one conversation. So I don't want you to keep going at something that's not what I said.
Ms. Vickers, why don't we direct your comments to the chair? I think
Well,
that'd be the most
my thing is, in order for us to deal with the police, even though we got problems with the police, and I'm talking about me, from my experience of what's happened to me personally, you got to get them in the room with us. It's not going to be easy. I understand that. We're going to argue and have some backlash. I'm not talking about jumping on each other, trying to kill each other. If we're trying to get together and pull this together with the problem with the police and the community, we're going to have to come together. We have to do it at some point.
We have to come.
I agree.
We have to come together. I agree with you 100%. Like we're.
But the people need to start coming to these
I agree with you, Mr. Bickerstaff. Like the overall purpose of this, like, is we say Cleveland CPC. It's reform, just overall reform. So one of the goals we have here, we have a menu of new options and things that we hope to roll out within the 6 months, and we hope people will be engaged because a lot of folks don't necessarily like sitting here being talked to or voices not being heard. So one of the goals is like roll out book clubs to get people. Some people are literary people and literal people, and they like to read books and engage in conversations. Let's have a music sessions. Tons of music that goes on that talks about police brutality, police reform, and social injustice and things that's going on. There are tons of movies. There's tons of black theater, white theater, just theaters all across the city of Cleveland in which we can have a cinema where we can watch Cornbread Earl and Me, whether we can watch Brooklyn's Finest. We talk about police brutality and come up with solutions and things of that nature. Because I know getting you guys here, get more people in the room is hard. Like, I hated school, so I didn't want to sit here for 2 hours and just listen to the teacher talk. So let's make it fun and interactive and educational where we can sneak you guys into engaging in revolution and change or in engagement. So let's come up with solutions right now. Let's have a list of things in which we can bring forth and make this night a night that we really get some solution and some solve.
Great. Gentlemen in the back, and then we're going to finish up. Or go ahead. Microphone's right there.
2 quick things.
Okay.
You'd be able to get a more diverse participation in your work groups if some of them occasionally met in the evening. They only meet in the day.
Okay, that's well noted.
The police department was supposed to have its training review committee assembled and meetings scheduled by March 15th. The consent decree requires that some few people from this commission be part of the training review committee. What commissioners were appointed to the TRC?
I am. I'm actually the liaison. We have a meeting on the 5th. We had a meeting in February. So one of the issues that we have had with the Training Review Committee, and I've actually presented on it at the full meetings, is that they're not consistent, and it's been an issue. Part of that is because of the individuals who are involved with the meetings are often pulled away. Commander Jones is the person who chairs that committee, and sometimes it's Captain Gallagher, I think, right? Yeah, Captain Gallagher. Okay, who steps into that. So we have, there are some issues. We've gotten some information, but definitely not as much as we need. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm gonna attend the in-service that's going on right now, where all the officers have to go through. So I'm doing that. I'm also meeting with the training academy to talk about wellness in the next month, and then I'll give a report back on the April 5th meeting at the training retreat.
Great, thank you. One last question in the back here, and then we're gonna move on. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name's Richard Asbury. I'm a playwright. I have a play on police brutality that's going to be at Rainey Institute the 1st and 2nd of June. What makes it different than just a play is there is a discussion period after the play to try to solve problems. So if you're interested in the play, please see me. I'll get you my card today. I'll direct you to a website that we just built. It's only $20. People throw away $20 on the internet. So please consider it as a forum to come together with people who are concerned about police brutality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And on that note.
What date did you say again? Sorry.
The 1st and 2nd of June. The 1st, it will be at the Rainey Center, 7 p.m. That's a Saturday. The 2nd is a Sunday. It's after church at 3 o'clock.
And what's the title of this play?
The title of the play is Black and Blue Rhapsody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn over the microphone now to Dr. Connor to tell us about what we're going to be looking forward to in the rest of 2019.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Knopf. Community members, if I could ask you to please look at the back of your agenda, and you will find a statement, and I'll just highlight it for you. The Cleveland Community Police Commission is united in its efforts to be the conduit that brings the community and the Cleveland Division of Police together. And you can read the rest of that. And we want to highlight, of course, our new commissioners, which we've done, our executive director, and our newly hired staff to help us move forward in 2014. You see the different projects that we are working on and the chairs of those projects. Please, please contact E.D. Goodrick to learn more about how to be involved in bringing solutions forward. This is a way. And I just want to highlight again what Ms. Bickerstaff said. We need you in our small groups. So, because that's where we start working through some of the issues. No, we don't have all of the answers, but we certainly are making an effort to come up with solutions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Doctor. At this juncture, I'm going to read into the record a resolution that's been drafted by the Commission and ask for statements or a claim of others that join in on it. It's Resolution 2019-01. I'll have a copy for the record. As many of you know, the potential for reinstatement of the patrol officer that shot Tamir Rice is back in the news. On November 22, 2014, 12-year-old Tamir Rice was shot dead at point-blank range by a member of the Cleveland Police Department. That tragic death revealed a systemic failure of police recruitment and training at all levels of the city and CPD. While certainly tragic, the events surrounding Tamir's death led in part to the filing of the subject consent decree against the city by the Department of Justice and the creation of the CPC. Today, as efforts to reinstate the former patrol officer responsible for Tamir's death continue, we are reminded of the failures of the system that in theory is designed to protect the citizenry. While we have made progress, and much has changed since that tragic day in November 2014, the fact that Tamir's assailant was an emotionally unstable recruit that was unfit for duty has not changed. We ask through this resolution that all efforts to reinstate the individual be abated. Foremost, we ask that the individual responsible for Tamir's death recognize that reinstatement is not an appropriate path and resign from any effort toward reinstatement and formally withdraw any effort to do so regardless of purpose or cause. I ask that those of you that support this resolution join me in statement or a claim. You will note that consistent with accepted modern practices, the assailant is not mentioned by name out of respect for the deceased and to avoid any additional notoriety for the same. Do I have a second? Push your button, I'm sorry.
Point of order, chairs can't move a motion forward. But I will move to move this resolution forward.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, you know, this statement is not supported by all commissioners. You prepared this statement maybe for your future agenda, your political agenda to the city of Cleveland. But the statements that you put in there and the words you put in there are mostly false and opinionated without you having all the facts of the case. This is the outreach of the commission, and is not our responsibility and not our what we are prepared to do here.
Any other comment?
It has everything to do with community relations. Bingo.
Any other comment?
Yes.
Let there be order, please.
Tamir's death was traumatic, and the spaces where we spend time reflecting on trauma are uncomfortable, and they hurt, and they are filled and fraught with emotion. The reason why this organization is a benefit to police and community is, like Ms. Bickerstaff said, we can sit in that frustration and that anger and that hurt, yet continue to hear where we're coming from. I don't agree with what Detective Fulmer says, but I know that Detective Fulmer is doing and saying what he feels and what he believes is what is right. And we can disagree there. But tomorrow we have to figure out how we can move forward and agree, even if it doesn't happen right away. And so I hear you out there because I'm with you. But in order to stop the cycle of trauma, someone has to get in the way. And that's what we are. We're here to say we don't agree, but we're going to vote on this and it's going to pass. And we're going to continue to move on and figure out how we can find ways we can agree.
Are you saying you vote on something that you don't agree to?
So let's, commissioners, have a voice vote. And we will start with Dr. Clay to express your support or non-support of the statement.
I support the statement.
I'm in support.
Support. Support the statement.
I support the statement.
I support the statement.
I support, and I should note for the record that former Attorney General Lee Fisher, Dean of the Law School, supports it, but is not available to vote today. Go ahead. Any others?
I vote no.
No.
Sorry. While I support his not being rehired, I don't support some of the language of the resolution because it does sound assumptive. So I think that perhaps we need to revisit what might be assumptions and not facts to make sure that we're putting forth something that is actually reflective of what happened and is also reflective of the community. So I vote no.
Thank you. The resolution passes by voice vote. We will now move on to...
At this point, before we get back to the agenda, I think we have the councilman for this ward, and that's present. If you would please, oh, he's standing in front of me with your hat on. Okay. Will you like to have comments at all?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I want to officially welcome you all.
I didn't recognize
to our home away from home in Collinwood, Texas. Very special place for all of us here. And I do want to welcome the commission here. And let me say this, you know, And so what I call upon all of you, become engaged in your community. Take an active role, become a stakeholder. Don't sit on the sidelines. We're very fortunate here in the 5th District, specifically the 8th Ward. We have a very close working relationship with Commander Sammy Morris, who's here in the back of the room. That's not to say that we always agree, but we can disagree and still be agreeable. We can have different positions and still be working together. And I find so often in my engagement is that I find so many citizens are expecting someone else to do it for them. It's not cutting it, my brothers and sisters, not working. If we all don't look out for one another and get engaged and care about our community, then, you know, we get what we deserve. I feel very strong and very passionate. I was born in Glenville, raised in Collinwood. Never lived anyplace else. I'm an East Sider. So I've seen it all. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm here, I'm pro-police. I'm pro-police, but I'm not here to support brutality or stupidity or ignorance. I grew up with a gentleman right here who was a 33-year member of the Cleveland Police Department. We grew up together. I respect police. I've instilled that in my children. But again, I'm not going to ignore bad behavior. I'm not going to ignore disrespect or violation of someone's constitutional rights. And if we all take that approach, because I have to tell you, I look at the police reports every day, what we call the brevity reports. You got to look at those. A lot of you don't see them, or the majority don't see them. I see what some of these officers go through. I see the abuse that they're taking. I see the fact that they have, more so than ever before, they're in conflict. There is physical contact. There is a lack of, when an order is given, there is a lack of response to that order. There is a lack of response to that order. As my mother told me, growing up, Shelly made sure I didn't speed through East Cleveland when I was a kid, okay? Because she said they didn't like people from Cleveland. But the fact of the matter is, as I've told my sons, my 2 sons, the police pull you over in a car, you know what your response is? Michael and Andrew, yes, sir. No, sir. If you don't like what they did or how they treated you, you get their badge number, and you get the time, and you get the car number, and you file a complaint. You don't engage in verbiage. You don't call them names. You don't fight with them. And I think, again, if we all take this approach of working together, police, well, let me say this. I think it works for everybody. I think it works for everybody that I'm hearing, okay? And then again, if it doesn't, then you file a complaint, okay? And you file a complaint.
Let's, Ms. Bickerstaff.
No, not Ms. Bickerstaff. Councilman.
Okay, but you file the complaints, okay? Let me just say this again. And if you file the complaint, you've got a federal judge monitoring this city now. They came into the city not to visit the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They came in here to monitor the city. So let me say this, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. Complaints against police officers are down. They're down in the city. They're down in the city. Body cams and citizens not being afraid to stand up and be counted. So at the end of the day, my brothers and sisters, I can only say this again, get engaged, be concerned, respect one another, care about each other, support your community wherever you live in this city, and we're gonna have a better city. And we're gonna have a police department that's responsive. And those officers that are not, they will be weeded out, they will be removed. That's what my belief is. Okay, that's what I believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I apologize for not recognizing you. I do have to, all right, I do have to echo a comment. I think civil respect is at the core of everything this commission's trying to do on both sides. And we've worked hard among commissioners to show civil respect in these proceedings, and we ask everyone to do so, and we're making headway. And there's a lot of work to be done, but we're making headway. In that respect, I'm going to handle some real mundane things that we have to do. First, I'll take a motion to approve the January meeting minutes, which were distributed earlier this week. Is there a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. Good, so approved. Organizational updates. Jason, why don't you let us know what's going on your front?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out this evening to join us. On behalf of the staff, I am Executive Director for the Cleveland Police Commission. If you don't know, I see a lot of new faces who may not know. This group of 13 individuals here are volunteers who are appointed by the mayor. So they are here. They are not being paid to be here and have these tough conversations in the room. They are here because they want to make a difference and change, and some of them are in their 4th year. So thank you for coming out and supporting them this evening. I'll keep this very brief. In our office that supports the commission, we have some new staff, which is wonderful as we move forward. I'd like to introduce them, starting with Ms. Janita Thomas, who comes to us with some great experience in the city, having worked in city council for many, many, many years for former Ward 7 representatives in that district. Moving along, we have Ryan Michael Walker, who is our senior policy analyst. Ryan is a PhD student, and he's going to be doing a lot of the data analysis so we can get to help the commission get to the facts of the matter. And we do have some pending records requests and other things from the city to help us analyze that data. Will be Ryan. And then finally, we have Shelly Williams. Shelly has a broad range of experience in nonprofit work, as well as a police dispatcher. So she knows a little bit about how police operate and can help in that regard. We'll be seeing her out in the community to help build this network of people who are trying to do the work in our office. So that's what I have for organizational updates on the staff side. This was already mentioned on the statement. My contact information is on here. If you want to get involved in the work groups, and some people have said they can't visibly see the work is being done. And there have been some great strides this year for the commission in getting recommendations approved. We're about to see search and seizure. Stay tuned. The great work of Gordon Friedman and his work group has had probably one of the highest success rates of moving community recommendations to reality and police policy. So congratulations to Gordon and his group. Stay tuned on that front. But if you want to get involved, if you want to be part of these work groups that are making the recommendations, reviewing the recommendations, and then finding out, being the first to find out what got approved and not approved, then come to our offices and reach out to me. Thank you all.
Great, thanks, Jason. Next up, any budget update? Commissioner Maxwell.
Well, some of what I said at the private meeting last month, I thought I should reiterate for everyone here. I attended the budget meeting with Director Goodrick, and we are allocated temporarily, it will be official on the 1st of April, $758,779. The salaries and benefits take up a total of $417,175. The remaining $341,000 are for non-salary items such as expert help, computer software, supplies, telephone, travel, rent, tuition, reimbursement, property rental, etc. For promotional items, we spent $247 on water bottles. T-shirts have come in at $146, and orders for stress balls have been forwarded. They have not arrived. They're $237.50. These promotional items are for things that we hope to have in the future that we pass out. You've seen pens on the desk. We want to remind everybody who we are. All these items have our logo. And that's about it.
Great, thank you very much. Next, new business. Yes.
I just wanted to lift up that we're getting the work started with a potential new work group that's focused on the future of the commission and what both infrastructure focused as it relates to how the commission is structured, what the group looks like, just taking a deeper dive into what beyond being a recommendation of policy body looks like in the future. I see a lot of progress that can be made when civilians have a tangible part in the police reform process, and that's what we have been or have worked to try to be. There are other accountability measures and other things that we can do to, one, make the organization better, but also make our footprint and the community's footprint as a result stronger within the police reform process. So after I return from spring break next week, I'll set another meeting and we'll try to do some more work on that.
Great. And we have the new commissioners that will join in on some of these committees so they won't waste any time as we're moving forward. Any other new business? With that said, I got to be honest with everyone here. This was an invigorating discussion this evening. It's good to see that there are so many additional citizens out there that are recognizing the importance of their involvement as we move forward in working with the DPCs and hopefully improving some of those operations and gathering some of your community voices in those committees. There's a lot of work to be done in 2019, and I look forward to that. 24 hours from now, I will be digging sanitary ditches in Central America. So while some will be on vacation, I know. So think of me while I'm there. With that, a motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.